My name is Jacqueline Boyd, and I want to thank you so much for joining us today. You're at the Care Plan channel, and I want to thank you for subscribing and sharing this information and these videos within your circle of friends and family. Today I wanted to spend time talking about LGBTQ plus caregiving. I know that's a mouthful, and that's not even really the terminology that LGBTQ folks use to describe how we show up for each other, how we take care of each other when people are ill or aging within our communities. But still, I wanted to spend time in talking about resources that are available, why caregiving for each other is part of LGBTQ plus culture, and what we can do to utilize strategies from our cultures to make sure that the aging process is easier for everyone. So glad that you're on board for today. Let's start by talking a little bit about the history of LGBTQ folks, at least in the US. I think whether or not you're a member of an LGBTQ community, you recognize that there's a higher degree of stigma that people are experiencing sometimes on a daily basis. You know, I'm blessed to live here in Chicago, in a city where I have a wide circle of support. But for folks that live in areas where there's not as many LGBTQ folks, or where it's not safe to be LGBTQ, the stress of that takes years off of people's lives. There's a study done in 2015 that showed that if you live in an area where it's not okay to be gay, it takes 12 years off your life expectancy. It's not an accident that we see so much chronic illness, so much substance use, so much mental health issues within LGBTQ plus communities. It's the natural result of bearing that burden, of bearing that stigma and discrimination that people experience on a daily basis. This feels particularly close to home for me right now because here in Chicago, just a few days ago, we had an alleged hate crime happen against Jussie Smollett, one of the actors from Empire, who had just gotten into town, was trying to get some food, and was brutally attacked at 2 a.m. in one of the most heavily populated areas in our city. These are the reasons why LGBTQ folks have always taken care of each other. Because when you're already marginalized, sometimes each other is all you have. And so whether it's what's happening currently today, or the experiences of so many who went through the HIV and AIDS crisis, and that was their first introduction to caregiving on a massive scale, or if you're a member of a community that has particular health challenges, like for example, within lesbian and bisexual women's communities, we see higher rates of breast cancer. So that's a common condition that people are struggling with, that people are accustomed to caring for each other around. So I think it's just important to recognize the history of LGBTQ caregiving, that it's always been happening, and sometimes that shows up as family of choice, right? So maybe when you're younger, it's the people you couch surf with, or you have family dinners with, or you take care of each other, you give each other money when you can't pay your bills. It may start out as something like that, where you're just surviving, but we can utilize those connections as we age to combat the isolation and loneliness that so many people feel. So my goal is not to depress you. My goal is to give you some resources and talk about what is possible, but it's really important for us to understand the baseline of what's happening for LGBTQ folks, I think. 41% of LGBT people over the age of 50 are living with a disability or living with a chronic illness. So the level of caregiving need is higher in LGBTQ plus communities. If you're a member of those communities, I'm going to break it down by caregiving and care recipient. So we've got tools and strategies for both. Let's start with the care recipient, the person who anticipates needing care or who might need care currently. The biggest issue for LGBTQ folks who are aging is isolation and loneliness. It's that feeling of, well, nobody cares for me, or I've been forgotten by the community. What's important is, as the care recipient, to recognize and claim the people around you. So I've done a number of videos on this, on subjects like making the ask or asking for help, on family of choice. You may want to watch those videos because they have specific tools that can be useful to you in thinking about, well, who's in my circle of support? Who would actually show up for me? The internalized barriers are the biggest challenge that most folks have in accepting and asking for help. So that's what I want to encourage care recipients to do and to really think about is, especially if you say things to yourself like, well, that person's too busy, or I don't want to be a burden on anyone. If you've ever been a caregiver, if you've ever taken care of someone else, then you know that it rarely, let me be honest here, it rarely feels like a burden. It feels like an honor to be asked. It feels like you can be closer through that caregiving relationship. So if you would show up for somebody, allow them to show up for you. I think that's one of the biggest pieces as a care recipient is getting beyond the point of thinking you don't deserve help and that there's no one that can help you. So again, be specific around the people that are around you and ask them if they'll show up. The other important piece as a care recipient is to make sure that people are showing up for you in ways that feel good, right? We don't always want everybody to show up for everything. If I'm in the hospital, I have one or two people that I want to be by my bedside, not everybody that I love in this world. So be honest, make specific asks so that people know how to show up for you. And it's important to let them know that you value the relationship, that you really see them as someone who you can trust to caregive for you. That's a very vulnerable and meaningful relationship. So choose wisely and be specific would be my advice. If you are anticipate needing care in the future and you kind of don't know where to start, that's the perfect time to give us a call. That's why I started this company, because I believe that everybody should have the choice to age well and determine what that looks like. So I'm here to help you. My team is here to help you figure out that path from where you're at now to where you want to be and what you want your aging to look like. So I'm going to switch gears for a minute and talk to LGBTQ plus caregivers. So oftentimes the word caregiver doesn't always resonate with LGBTQ folks because although we may identify people as our family of choice, as our chosen family, that has boundaries for some reason when we get to the point of being ill or needing help. And I think that's something that I want to encourage LGBTQ caregivers and people who are my generation and younger to really pay attention to. The older adults within our community don't just have wisdom and lessons to teach us and history that we can't get back once they're gone. They also need us. They are going to need us to caregive for them. And so it's on us as well to do that outreach, to stay connected to the older adults in our lives, to say, I don't know how you want me to show up for you, but I'm gonna be here. And I wanna support you as you age. I think LGBTQ folks across the age spectrum, we're oftentimes trying to create stronger networks for ourselves and close relationships. And it's incumbent upon us as the younger generations to claim our older adults, to say, I'm gonna be there for you, and this is what that looks like. Here's some things that you can do to have a meaningful caregiving relationship with the LGBTQ or older adult in your life. Make sure that you offer specifics. If someone's not feeling well, or if they're feeling ashamed about needing help, you can build that bridge by saying, listen, I'm really a great cook. I would love to bring you a meal twice a week if you'd be okay with that while you're recovering from your surgery. Or you can say, I love your dog. I would love to come by and take your dog for a walk Monday through Friday when I get off of work. When we're not feeling well, it's really hard to basically be a project manager and say, I want you to show up in this way, you to do this task. It's better for us as the caregivers to say, this is what I can do, and this is when I can do it. It helps build that pathway to a successful caregiving relationship. Also, work as a team. Don't be afraid to reach out and to plan for care together. There's a resource that I'm going to share right now called the Prepare to Care Guide. There's a lot of LGBTQ focused resources, more and more coming out now. There's a couple of places you can go for those. SAGE, Services and Advocacy for GLBT Elders, is a wonderful resource, as is AARP. They have a great Pride program, and their partnership actually created this guide. So let me get that and show that to you. So this is the Prepare to Care guide. You can find it online and we'll show the link, but it is specifically for caregivers and specifically for LGBTQ caregivers. So you can use this guide as a tool for going through everything from finances to advanced directives to having a health history so that you know exactly what your person has gone through and can connect the dots for the other medical providers and people in their lives. I hope that makes sense. So whether you use this guide or you call the care plan and say, help, I'm a caregiver now and I'm not quite sure what to do or what my resources are, we're here for you. There's a whole world out there that is ready to help you care for your loved one. So I just want to encourage you to reach out to us at the Care Plan. Like I said, check out AARP and the SAGE websites, which we'll link to in the description box below. But there's a lot of resources out here. You are not alone on the path. And I also want to just take a minute to recognize, because I didn't mention it before, that LGBTQ folks are, whether you have someone who is LGBTQ in your life that you're caregiving for or not, LGBTQ folks are more often called on to be the care coordinator for their parents and for the other older loved ones in their life. I've had clients who, were estranged from their family members for 7-10 years, and then when their parents started needing help because they were the ones who were maybe not in a partnership relationship or didn't have kids, their other siblings expected them to do the work. So I just want to recognize that that's another area of typically unpaid LGBTQ caregiving labor, and those are specific challenges as well. So again, we're here to think creatively with you to help build the path to successful aging for you and your loved ones. So please stay connected. Thank you for watching this video, and we will see you soon. Take good care.